Hello, everyone. We're starting. Please sit down. Have your attention. If not, I'll start singing. And years ago, Billy asked me not to join the choir, so that gives you an idea of my singing skills. Okay. Today is our third forum, and it's covering the years 2002 to 2011. 2002 to 2021. I've got to read both signs. Today we have Steve and Lauren, we have Marilyn and Evie, and we have Cal and Cal. And they're going to tell us stories of what brought them to St. Jude's and why they stay. That's always the big question, is why they stay. So first we'll start with Lauren and Steve. If everyone sits down, behaves themselves. Thank you. Thank you. Here you go.
Check 1, 2. Yes, we are on. Good afternoon, everybody. My wife and I got married in 2010, and she left me. She went to Boston for 2 years and left me here all by myself. And I was very lonely. So she's like, we should go find a church. So being a Roman Catholic, I said, what church should I look for? And she was in Boston. She found a nice Episcopal church. And we had, being raised in the Roman Catholic Church, I decided that I didn't want to be part of that anymore. So I wasn't going. And so there was something missing, and we were talking about having kids at some point, and I think it'd be important to be in charge in a faith community for their well-being.
So we could inflict our children upon a faith community. That's really what it is.
Exactly. So I started looking around. She's like, here, I found these couple churches. Why don't you go check them out? So I was like, okay, I'll go check them out. One of them she sent me was in middle downtown Los Gatos, and that was a very strange experience. And so I was like, I don't think that's a church for us. And so second one I came to was here, and I walked in and I never left. So I don't know. Maybe it's something in the water that's here keeps me coming back. But it was very friendly. I think the first person I met was Jennifer Stern, wherever she might be hiding. There she is. And I was like, oh, well, she was very friendly. And so then I come back the next week, and there was somebody else that picked me out. And I think right after I started coming, there was the men's getaway weekend. Like, oh, you should come out for that. It's like, sure, why not? They're like, oh, really? You're going to come? So went out to there and met a lot of great guys and had a lot of fun. And every week is new, and every week is interesting. And it felt like home. It felt like there were friends here and people that cared truly about who you were, what you did, where you came from. And I said, I think this is where we want to be. And so she came out and she agreed, and we're still here. We got 2 kids now, and we've done lots of other things. I did a little bit of coffee hour and ushering, and then I got into the youth group, and we led the youth group for some time. For a long time. Great kids. We had a lot of fun with the kids. Our kids spent lots of nights in this room, or actually I should say in the back room with the door closed. But yeah, when they were little kids. You want to add to that?
Sure. Yeah, so as Stephen said, he started attending St. Jude's before I did. I was attending a church in Boston, an Episcopal church, which was at the time really a spiritual home for me. So coming to St. Jude's, I was like, oh man, there's big shoes to fill when I'm coming back. And I remember walking into the sanctuary and the wood and the windows, and it felt like home. It was the right place for us. And so we got swept up into St. Jude's very quickly. We, as Stephen said, we did our experience for the first several years, many years of St. Jude's was really through the youth group and leading that. The Senas had been leading it before we were here, and I remember, I think I had been to one service here, and then we sat down on a Tuesday night with Maylee and started mapping out what we're going to do with the youth group. Maylee Hughes, who was the associate at the time. We've gone through many associate rectors and assisting clergy in the time that we've been here, right? We have a lot of change, right? We had Beth, and we had Stephanie, and we had who else? Bruce was here for a bit, and we had Sarah LaPenta H. Sheridan, I didn't meet. You met. So that was really important to us, and we raised our children in the youth group a lot. Nathan was the mascot of the youth group, and their pack and plays were here on the overnights and things like that. We did the chili, the youth chili, for many years as a fundraiser. And that recipe still exists. I don't think it's getting busted out for this for next week, but that's the high mark that everyone has to reach. And then we participated in a lot of other ministries. I was on the Mission Covenant ministry. Carlos, you and I were on that together with Wilma, and I served on vestry for 3 years. I was on the vestry that called Aaron, and the vestry that sort of took us into COVID. I had left before we started sort of coming out of COVID, if we're out of it. But it's been an incredible community. One of the things that I always say about St. Jude's is that St. Jude's will have you in its community whether you want to be or not. And folks who know me know that I'm kind of a private person. Maybe that surprises folks. I'm naturally an introvert, and not one to really open up to a community. And so the things that St. Jude's carried us through, when we had high-risk pregnancy with Nathan, and the time afterwards, when I had a very serious injury that left Stephen trying to cope with 2 little children and a bedridden wife for many, many months. This community sustained us through that in ways that are hard to, articulate the gratitude that we have for this place. Again, sort of whether we asked for it or not. And so that's what keeps us here at St. Jude's, I think, that openness and that unconditional love, truly unconditional love and support.
All right, I'm Mary Lynn Azar. This is my daughter Evie. My husband Steven's over doing coffee hour over there in the thing. AJ's running around. There's a bunch of us. We first came here almost exactly 10 years ago. We were here about 2 months after Wilma started, so that was about when we came in. AJ was a toddler at the time. When we first moved to the Bay Area, we lived in Redwood City, and we found an Episcopal church up there, and we attended there for around 10 years as well, actually. But we had moved down to Cupertino, and you tend to stick when you've got a faith community that you enjoy and that you are a part of. So we had been continuing to go and drive up and commute to Redwood City, which is a half-hour commute. But our oldest were getting closer to youth group age, and the youth group would do things during the week, and it wasn't worth the half-hour drive. And we realized we weren't as involved in the church as we would be if we could just run over during the week. It was becoming a Sunday-only thing for us, partly because of distance. So we decided to look around and see if we could find a church near Cupertino. We didn't necessarily limit it just to in Cupertino, but we were looking around the area. Actually, the very first time, I was remembering, because I always think of the first time as when we all came together, but the first time I came here was actually the year before we really joined, because it was a Christmas Eve. I was very involved with youth and children up at my church up there, same as I have been down here, and if any of you have ever run a Christmas pageant on Christmas Eve and family service, it's a little chaotic, right? Yeah, a little bit chaotic. Maybe you don't get as much out of it yourself as you might want out of your own Christmas Eve service. So when I got home, I'm like, I'm feeling a bit chaotic going into Christmas, and I'd like to find a quieter service that just I could go to. So I came over here to St. Jude's. I think it's funny you mentioned seeing Jennifer Stern first, because I recognized her. She was in the back of the church because our kids went to school together. Yep, hi. And I just sort of quietly kept to myself that night, but I had it in my mind. This is a place we could come to. It's a lot closer. It would be easier to do. So a year later when we were looking, and we went to several churches in the area, so we're trying to figure out where we're going to end up as our more Cupertino-based home. I remember Sue Bryson was incredibly warm and welcoming and welcomed us right in. And it wasn't just that you got welcomed warmly at the door. It's that after the service, you got checked in with again. And then somebody walked with you over to coffee hour. And then they connected you up with someone they thought you'd get along well with. And it really was this full, warm welcome. We wanted someplace our kids would be able to be together and active. I wanted to continue helping with Godly Play. I'd been very involved in Godly Play for 10 years at that point, and I wanted a place where I can continue doing that. So this church had Godly Play, had a youth group for my youth, and it had events we could go to during the week. For instance, my daughter Gwen and I always try to make some one-on-one time with my various kids during the week, and I had asked her, what would you like us to have as your special mom-daughter date? She was in middle school at the time, I believe. And she said she wanted to come to the church for Taizé services. And so she and I, for well over a year, like maybe a couple years, would come here once a week and we would do Taizé together. And then after we did Taizé together, we'd go out and we'd have tea. And it became a very, kind of faith-based thing. And when I asked her, like after we'd been doing this for several weeks, well, why did you choose Taizé? It doesn't seem like a usual middle school girl choice that, of what you want to do. And she said, because I knew that if we did that first, that you would be there and present for me by the time we moved on to coffee. And I loved that she could see what a centering activity faith and church could be for us and how it could slow us down in this hectic Silicon Valley life. So I've been pretty involved here with Godly Play. We did do Taizé services. We helped with coffee hour. I think we baked bread today. All various things. Kids have gotten involved in all different ways. AJ's no longer a toddler. The other ones have grown up into teens. What do you remember as your things?
Let's see. I remember mostly after services and stuff, playing hide and seek around the campus because, there's just lots of awesome hiding places. Specifically, the gigantic tree was still standing. So if we were playing in the courtyard, someone was always behind that tree, even if that's not the best hiding spot, because someone can run around there pretty quick, and it's, But, there's that, and then playing with AJ and stuff outside. We played foosball a lot, and there's one time where I was getting very fed up with him because, he wants to play, he wants attention, but I don't want to do so much foosball. So back behind there's a tree, and it was like a weeping willow type where it came down, and so we cleared out under that and shifted the bench there, and so we just played house back in the tree. So I remember that, yeah. And let's see, other ways that I got involved in church was my sister was an acolyte first, and so with her being an acolyting and whatnot, you can always need more acolytes, why not? And so I joined in when I was pretty young, yeah. I was doing torching for a while, and yeah, I just got roped into everything. And now I'm head acolyte, so guess it worked. And one of the pivotal moments for me, was when the big tree fell, because there could not have been a better way for it to fall, for it to cause less damage. If it fell any other way, something else would have been destroyed, but the way it fell, it was miraculous. It's beautiful. And now we have I really love that they made an altar out of one of the sections of wood. I think that's really amazing. And then later, putting up the playground right where it stood, I think that's just a wonderful place to bring back the fun and games that I had when I was young. And so, my mom she says that she wasn't there, but I remember specifically setting up the playground. We had like the gigantic play structure in the middle. There was like, it was like raining, like pouring rain. This is like super dramatic. And we were heaving up the giant pole up into its spot and claying down, you know, and just heave, oh, heave. And then, you know, there wasn't any tan bark yet, so it's like a couple feet down, right? Yeah, it was quite dramatic. And I was telling my mom this, I'm like, yeah, this is what I remember. And she's like, when was that? So, yeah, that was incredible. And just seeing the whole courtyard and everything change over time, it's just really amazing. Anything else? All right.
All right, hello, everyone. I'm Clifton, also known as Cal. Right here is Joseph, or JR, but he's busy being a warrior for the city of Cupertino, so I'm here to speak on his behalf with me. I was asked by Luis during our 60th anniversary planning meeting to see if I wanted to be a speaker, and when you're knowing Luis, you can never say no. So here I am here. But I'm glad to be sharing on behalf of JR and myself because we want to describe what it's like to have a sense of belongingness here at St. Jude's. We are fairly new members, and when asked to give a history about our time at St. Jude's, we're probably going to give like a 1-minute speech because there's really nothing much for us to share since we're fairly new. But I think the thing I want to spend most time on at the end is what St. Jude's means to us. So in late 2019, JR and I were engaged for about a year, and we were looking for a wedding venue. And Jennifer Sheeran, hi, shared about St. Jude's as a possible venue, and we visited it, and I think we fell in love with it, not just because of the beauty of the outdoor venue, but also because we wanted a church wedding, and we only live 5 minutes away. So if we are to be late for a wedding, we'll still be on time. February 2020 rolled around, and we put a deposit with the church for the wedding venue for the August 2020 wedding, and y'all ever heard of COVID-19? So that came, and again, this was a mysterious virus where even at work, I thought I'd be back at work after a week, maybe a month or two, and then some. So it's kind of like a turd that won't flush. COVID-19 clogged our wedding plans. JR and I still had a wedding on the same day, unofficially, at Linda Vista Park outdoors with about 20 guests, because we still wanted to make reality happen, even though many things got in the way of our wedding. Time passed, and the world became more chaotic. Things like increased racism towards those of Asian American culture. JR and I attended a Stop Asian Hate rally in Saratoga in April 2021. There we also saw Jennifer, and at that time, Jennifer said, "I want you to meet someone named Aaron." And this is a person who was new to the church who your wedding deposit is at. So we had a very awesome time meeting Aaron, and he was very friendly, and for him to show up as a church leader to a Saturday event, I think on his time off, really spoke well of what a church could be. So time passes by, even more, and months go by, and COVID-19, of course, is still morphing. It's the summer of 2021, and Joseph and I attend a backyard, very small backyard dinner with Jennifer. And there we tend to be night owls. We talk the night away in the backyard, and Jennifer had to leave early. And I said, "Oh, it's good to see you." He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to church tomorrow." I'm like, "What church do you go to?" "Oh, St. Jude's." It's been a while since I attended church, so I said, I'm a person of my word. Maybe I'll see you there tomorrow. And that next day, Sunday, I brought JR, and we sat outside and had a lovely service. The venue was beautiful, but also was beauty in the sermon, the people, and the community. So all that was just shining bright for both JR and myself. What really stuck out to us is your motto, "All are welcome." And that's something that really resonates in many of our hearts as we've shared today, the theme of being welcome and being a community. And little things do add up, and things like Aaron and others wearing a rainbow bracelet mean something very powerful for someone like JR and myself. Little things do matter. And 1 year passes by, and we've created so many awesome memories here at St. Jude's. church leaders asking us our thoughts about an LGBTQ plus progressive flags outside on the church sign, being involved in serving on various communities and ministries, or Louise says, you must be part of the community, co-hosting a housing forum, helping with blessings of the bicycles, sharing the midnight making rosaries at the Good Friday Vigil, helping with a Relay for Life fundraiser, supporting a church member being baptized here, and creating new friendships where everyone is a family. And that's what really means a lot to us. So now we skip another year later, and it's August 20th, 2022. And that was a very significant event for JR and myself. Yes, this is a time when we had over 200 guests, and the time that we tied the knot for our big fat gay wedding. So 2 years in waiting with something called COVID-19, the church was a really huge support, whether verbally or through the actions of the church, through the service, through just the kind gestures. It became a dream that turned into a magical reality, and everyone went out of their ways to help us feel welcome, loved, supported, and we are one together. So what turned out to be a 2-year wait was well worth it. Kind of like a nice wine. So, to me, this demonstrates that St. Jude's members speak of love and peace and go above and beyond just the talk, but they actually walk the walk. And we sincerely thank St. Jude's for being a brilliant light that continues to bring warmth to JR and me. So now on for the longer part, and again, I'll speak more of for my sharing, because JR is not here. During the wedding, my mother gave a speech, and she shared that while going through many of the photos to help with the slideshow, she reflected that I was quite a serious, timid, and often solitary individual with a lot of self-confidence concerns. And after the wedding, some church members came up to me in disbelief saying, "We don't look at you as someone like that. I thought you're more of an outgoing, friendly person who smiles and makes eye contact a lot." And so there's a large story behind that, and this is what St. Jude's means to me. Many don't know that I have a long history, a huge past of being afraid of people, hard to speak, and hard to make eye contact. Rejection, bullying, and being told that I was an abomination for who I love provided no sense of safety, security, or assurance toward a peaceful life. In direct words, I will never be in any haven for someone like me. Long ago, I regularly attended a different church who shared that it was a problem to be LGBTQ+. The explanation I was given by a religious leader was this: if you allow same-sex marriage, then this would open up opportunities for humans to marry animals. So this is what it was like for me to be with others, an animal of some sort. Given that animals were not welcome at that church, I stopped going. Such a hurtful gesture reopened the rooms of trauma. Years passed without a church until I came to St. Jude's. What I love about St. Jude's Episcopal Church is the authenticity and the sincerity shared among its community. Beyond friends, we are a united community. We are a family. We have celebrated together. We have shed tears together. We have accomplished great feats and acts together of kindness. From its motto, all are welcome, to the church community here who also outreaches to other marginalized populations, St. Jude's is a place where I can safely share a voice with others, looking people in the eye, trusting others, and even having a voice right here with a microphone. Here at St. Jude's, I'm not an abomination, for I am human with hopes and dreams. Here at St. Jude's, I'm not a target, for I am a fellow Christian in the house of God. Here at St. Jude's, I'm not in danger, for I'm a biological male who married another biological male for the church on these premises. From all this, many words come to mind when I think of St. Jude's. Community, family, peace, love, social justice, equity, diversity, outreach, and so forth. Although these words cannot erase my traumatic past, St. Jude's has helped me feel safe and included to where I can be my authentic self, where I can smile, again, make eye contact, not be afraid, and lift myself from the shadows of past into a warm light of the community. Most of all, for me, St. Jude's is home. Here at St. Jude's, everyone belongs. And I thank you all at St. Jude for welcoming JR and me to home.
And that ends the lesson. Oh, no, that's not it. Sorry. Thank you all for coming. This was the last of our forums. Next week is the big party. What time is church? 9:30. Thank you.
2:30. You weren't supposed to make me cry. You might have stories to share as well. So if you have a story to share about St. Jude's, I invite you to do one of two things, or two of two things, if you want to. You can share that story in our Facebook group online. If you're a Facebook user and follow us on Facebook in our group, I invite you to share your story there. You can type it, you can record a video and post it there for others in our Facebook St. Jude's community to watch or read. There's also next Sunday at our 60th anniversary celebration, around all of our tables will be conversation cards, ways for you to, prompts that Barbara has worked diligently in making, thank you, Barbara, that might prompt you to share a story that you have of your life here at St. Jude's, a memory, a hope, a dream, something that you've experienced in our life together. So we want to hear your stories too. We don't have the ability to give everybody a mic and have everybody share a story up here like we've done these last 3 weeks, but we're incredibly grateful for you all and for the others who have shared in this forum. But we want to hear your stories too. So whether that's around your tables next week, whether it's sharing them online, please tell your stories. Our stories are what makes St. Jude's what we are. And so I invite you to continue sharing those stories in big ways and in small ways, both in this week or in the future. Last time Louise gets to be in charge. And with that, have a lovely afternoon. That's good.